Welcome to the deep dive. Just take a moment and look around you. That smartphone in your hand, the way the news updates instantly, the constant buzz of new tech headlines, it's all part of this incredible, accelerating wave of technological change sweeping through our lives. It's impossible to ignore, right? And
But you know,
honestly, it feels a little unsettling, doesn't it? Like we're being pulled along whether we like it or not, with this underlying unease about where it's all heading.
it absolutely does, yeah.
Yeah.
And that feeling of being caught in an unstoppable current is precisely what we're diving into today. This deep dive is all about the coming wave, a powerful cluster of technologies, primarily artificial intelligence and synthetic biology. Our mission really is to unpack what this wave truly is, why it feels so incredibly hard to get a handle on, the immense opportunities it presents for humanity, but also, critically, the profound risks that come along with it.
And maybe most importantly, we'll ask, what, if anything, can actually be done to contain it? How do we monitor, guide, maybe gain some kind of control over these forces? Consider this your ultimate shortcut to understanding one of the defining challenges of our era, tailor-made for you.
You know, throughout history, humanity has always been shaped by these metaphorical waves of technology. It's a pattern. From the discovery of fire and the first stone tools all the way through to the printing press and the steam engine, there's been one seemingly immutable law. Every foundational technology gets cheaper, it gets easier to use, and eventually it proliferates far and wide. It just spreads.
Okay, so that's a key point right there. Technology, once unleashed, seems to follow this inescapable law of spreading, getting cheaper, and becoming widespread. It's not just a trend, it's like a fundamental force. Think about the internal combustion engine. Way back 18th century, Nicholas Joseph Cugnot built this steam car. Barely chugged along, right? Huge boiler on the front.
Yeah, 2 miles an hour, something like that. But then fast forward to the late 1800s, Nicholas August Otto gives us the first really functional four-stroke engine ready for the masses. And his partners, Daimler and Maybach, they immediately saw the potential.
Right.
Transport, everything.
And from those early tinkerings, mass mobility just became this unstoppable force. But it's not just about cars, as you said. It's the rhythm of technology itself. Science drives cheaper, better stuff, which spurs demand and competition.
Exactly. And that, in turn, fuels even more tech advancement. It's a cycle, a self-reinforcing cycle.
And it's not random, is it? What's fascinating here is how population size and innovation seem to be linked. Larger, more connected populations act like a collective brain. More people interacting, sharing ideas, specializing.
Leads to more discovery, yeah. You see it in cities especially. Look at Uruk in Mesopotamia, birthplace of the first known writing system. And then you see this massive population increase, what, 400-fold from the agricultural to industrial revolutions? It directly correlates with these innovation waves.
So more human connection equals more breakthroughs. Simple as that, almost.
And then you get to the digital age.
Yeah.
And the acceleration just goes exponential. It's hard to truly grasp the speed. We went from ENIAC, that massive early computer in 1945, 8 feet tall, 18,000 vacuum tubes.
18,000.
To the invention of the tiny transistor at Bell Labs just 2 years later. Then Robert Noyce, co-founder at Intel, gives us the integrated circuit, paving the way for Gordon Moore's famous law.
Ah, Moore's law. Right. Doubling transistors on a chip every 24 months, basically. And the results are just mind-blowing. Since the early 70s, transistors per chip up 10 million-fold. And processing power up 17 billion-fold. I mean, what does that kind of acceleration actually mean day to day?
It means we're in this phase of just pure, uncontained technological proliferation. Data itself is exploding. Think about it. 1983, maybe 560-something computers on the internet. Today, 14 billion smart devices.
14 billion.
And the amount of data stored globally went up 20 times just in the decade between 2010 and 2020. This isn't just growth. It's a fundamental shift. Things scaling incredibly fast.
But here's where it gets really tricky, maybe. The creators of tech often lose control pretty quickly. This idea of revenge effects. Thomas Edison, you mentioned, invented the phonograph for, serious stuff, bots, helping the blind.
Yeah, and he was apparently horrified people just wanted to play music on it.
Right. Or Alfred Nobel's explosives for mining, not war, or prescription opioids causing dependence, overuse of antibiotics, space junk even. Is it always a revenge effect, though, or are some of these things, foreseeable? Things we maybe didn't think through enough?
That's a really good question. It's often a mix, I think. The revenge effect really highlights the unforeseen scale or the unexpected application of a technology.
Hmm.
So containment then isn't about stopping tech cold. It's about establishing meaningful control, the capability to steer these waves, try to avoid the really big harms overwhelming the benefits. It's about foresight, adaptation.
Okay, so if we're looking for examples where we tried containment, maybe partially succeeded, nuclear weapons often come up. The sheer horror of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 45 and then the Tsar Bomba in 61, 10 times more powerful than all WWII conventional bombs combined. That genuinely scared people.
It absolutely did. That fear, plus the incredible complexity and cost of making them, helped drive a conscious non-proliferation policy. You had treaties, like the Partial Test Ban Treaty 63, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty 68, landmark efforts, and mutually assured destruction, MAD, played a chilling role too. Using them meant destroying yourself.
But even with all that, you say containment is still acutely unsolved.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had terrifying near misses, accidents, that 1961 B-52 crash where a hydrogen bomb almost detonated, or the Kremlin admitting to 15 serious nuclear accidents just between 2000 and 2010. And get this, it was only in 2019 that the U.S. nuclear command systems were fully upgraded from hardware design back in the 1970s.
Wow. 1970s hardware until 2019. That's sobering. And this brings us to something called the pessimism aversion trap, why we often struggle to face these, well, dark technological possibilities.
Exactly. There's this sort of head-in-the-sand default. People often just refuse to accept dire implications. They hope something will turn up. They shy away from the hard facts, accuse people raising questions of catastrophizing, and just look away.
It's an emotional reaction almost.
It is deep-seated. Even critics, and there are certainly more critics now than when, say, DeepMind started, even they can fall into it. Public discussion has shifted, more skepticism, sure. But the fundamental issues often stay unaddressed because facing the really uncomfortable stuff is hard. Looking at the worst-case scenario head-on, not easy.
Okay, let's dive into the core then, the coming wave itself. AI and synthetic biology. These two seem to be at the absolute forefront, immense promise, immense power, and immense peril.
Oh, definitely. AI has been climbing this ladder of cognitive abilities for decades. What felt almost, quixotic, impossible when DeepMind was founded, now seems almost inevitable. AI systems reaching human-level performance across many tasks, maybe within just the next 3 years.
We've seen glimpses, right? Like AlexNet in 2012, that big leap in computer vision that helped enable things like Amazon Go stores, checkout lists, Tesla's autonomy getting better, facial recognition everywhere now, Baltimore to Beijing. They process visuals incredibly well.
And then you have large language models, LLMs, trained on trillions of words. To put that in perspective, the average human might read, 8 billion words in an 80-year life?
8 billion sounds like a lot.
It does. But these LLMs consume millions of times more data in just a month of training. So unsurprisingly, they're stunningly good at translation, summarizing, writing creatively, even passing the U.S. medical licensing exam.
And it's not just language, is it? This whole explosion of generative AI. Models writing music, inventing games, playing chess better than humans, solving high-level math, creating unbelievably realistic images. Things like Stable Diffusion let anyone make bespoke images for free on a laptop. It's like creative power democratized.
But, and this is a big but, this power comes with real challenges. These models can, and sometimes do, produce troubling, even harmful content. Early GPT-2, for example, showed racist biases in auto-completions based on the prompt. And that stems from being trained on all the messy biased data out there on the open web. So understanding and mitigating those biases is a huge ongoing effort.
Still, those challenges shouldn't make us dismiss where AI is heading, right? Towards AI that can imagine, reason, plan, exhibit common sense, leading to this idea of ACI, AI doing real-world stuff autonomously, lobbying, selling, manufacturing, hiring.
That's the trajectory. And for skeptics saying AI is hitting a wall, well, history suggests fundamental breakthroughs tend to find a way, like the internal combustion engine hitting walls but eventually transforming everything.
Okay, and parallel to AI, you have the synthetic biology revolution. CRISPR comes up a lot.
Right. CRISPR, using the Cas9 enzyme, basically acts like incredibly precise DNA scissors, lets you edit genes accurately from bacteria right up to humans. And have it fast. First gene-edited plants within a year of discovery, mice even sooner. And now we're seeing CRISPR systems maybe fighting viruses in new ways.
And it's not just editing, it's writing life, gene synthesis.
Exactly. Manufacturing genetic sequences from scratch. The cost has plummeted, the scale exploded. A decade ago, maybe scientists made less than 100 DNA pieces at once. Now, Millions. Prices down tenfold. The London DNA Foundry can design and test 15,000 different genetic designs in a single morning.
15,000. And this is the bit that really stood out to me. Benchtop DNA synthesizers, available for maybe $25,000. For anyone with graduate training or just really keen on learning online, what does that mean for, like, garage biohacking?
It means biological creativity is being unleashed in ways we haven't seen before. Unprecedented. We're seeing weird emerging possibilities. Viruses making batteries, proteins purifying water, organs grown in vats, algae drawing down carbon, plants eating toxic waste, and then gene drives to maybe wipe out mosquito species, de-extinction projects like woolly mammoths. The potential feels almost boundless.
And the medical advances are already here, aren't they? Restoring vision using algae proteins, treating sickle cell, leukemia with CAR T-cell therapies, personalized medicine based on our DNA.
Profound advances. But the ethical concerns are right there alongside them, stark and immediate. The Lulu and Nana case in China, 2018. A rogue professor using CRISPR on embryos, breaking all the norms that shocked everyone, led to condemnation, calls for a moratorium, a real wake-up call about the power and responsibility.
And then these two fields, AI and biology, they converge. AlphaFold is the big example.
Yes. DeepMind's AlphaFold in 2020. It basically cracked the 50-year challenge of predicting how proteins fold. Did it in hours. It stunned experts, even retired the competition designed to test these predictions. Caused an earthquake in biology. Suddenly, instead of maybe 190,000 known protein structures, we had access to 200 million.
200 million. What does that leap even mean for research? Drug discovery, understanding life itself.
It accelerates everything. Massively. And beyond AI and symbio, there's this wider wave pushing forward to robotics, for instance.
Right, robotics. From John Deere's plow-changing farming.
To modern robots everywhere. Warehouses, factories, even doing intricate surgery. And the shift isn't just automation, it's robots learning autonomously through AI, not just following human commands.
And that's where it gets very real, very physical. That Dallas police robot in 2016, using C4 to stop a sniper. First time a robot used targeted lethal force in the U.S., you said. Robots as the bridge between AI's bits and the physical world of atoms.
Precisely. Allowing AI to act in the real world. Then there's quantum computing. Google's 2019 quantum supremacy claim. A calculation in seconds that take a supercomputer 10,000 years.
10,000 years.
And it's exponential. Each extra qubit doubles the power. Huge implications for modeling chemistry, material science, drug discovery, incredibly complex stuff.
Okay, so looking at this whole wave, AI, synbio, robotics, quantum, what makes this wave different? Why is containment such a bigger issue? You mentioned 4 features.
Yeah, 4 intrinsic features that really compound the problem. First, asymmetric impact. These technologies create vulnerabilities on a scale we haven't seen before, often cheaply.
Right. Like a $15,000 AI drone in Ukraine having huge military impact, or one lab accident causing a pandemic, or one quantum computer breaking all encryption. Big impact from small sources.
Exactly. Second, they hyper-evolve. They develop and improve incredibly fast, iterating so quickly it's hard to keep pace.
Third, omni-use. Their general purpose can be used for good or bad.
Right. That drug discovery AI finding 40,000 potential chemical weapons in 6 hours, that's omni-use in action. A sobering example.
And fourth, autonomy. They increasingly operate without direct human control.
Yeah, AIs improving themselves, gene drives spreading on their own, self-replicating viruses or malware. They have a life of their own to some extent.
So asymmetric impact, hyper-evolution, omni-use, autonomy. Those 4 things together.
They don't just make containment harder, they make it a fundamentally different challenge than any past technological wave. It's a new game, new rules.
So why is it proving so hard to contain? The incentives pushing it forward seem almost overwhelming. Geopolitical competition is a big one, right? AlphaGo beating Keji and Go, China's Sputnik moment for AI.
Definitely. It spurred China's national strategy. World leader in AI by 2030, marshaling huge state resources. The robot revolution, BGI's DNA sequencing, and that quantum scientist saying we have started a worldwide quantum space race. Competition is fierce.
Then there's the openness imperative, academia, open source. Sharing is the norm.
Very strong norms. GitHub with 190 million code repositories, archive with 2 million papers, often pre-peer review. The culture defaults to open, which is great for science, but makes governance or restriction really, really difficult. How do you control something that's designed to be shared?
And then, let's face it, the staggering profit motive. Most tech is made to make money. Like the 1830s railway boom, relentless profit motive built a whole national network. Today, this wave is called the greatest economic prize in history. AI adding $15.7 trillion by 2030, biotech $4 trillion. Figures like that.
Huge numbers.
Yeah.
And corporations control the key resources. AI chips, models, robotics, Apple's cash reserves, Samsung's share of Korea's economy. Ultimately, intelligence itself is incredibly valuable. Expanding it offers unprecedented growth. The drive for that profit is immense.
But it's not just desire, is it? It's also fundamental need. You mentioned food supply. 1945, half the world undernourished. Today, 10%. Despite 3x the population, technology did that.
Exactly. And we face huge global challenges now. Clean energy transitional hydrocarbons are still 84% of global energy. Material scarcity for EVs, 225 tons of raw materials per car. Healthcare for aging populations, a global issue.
So without new tech, meeting these challenges seems, well, impossible.
Pretty much fanciful, yeah. The drive isn't just profit or power, it's survival, progress, solving real problems.
And finally, maybe, ego, scientists, technologists, they're human, crave status, success, legacy, competitive.
All too human, as the source puts it. Driven by glory, or just discovery for its own sake, it forms this kind of slime mold, slowly rolling toward an inevitable future. Slowing it down goes against national corporate research interests. The momentum is huge.
Okay, so this wave is powerful, hard to contain. And it's creating cracks in the nation-state itself. The old grand bargain is fracturing.
That's the argument. The state's historical deal monopoly on violence for peace and prosperity is under strain. Technology is a key driver. Look at trust in government plummeting. U.S. confidence down from 70% post-war to below 20%. And globally, rising nationalism, authoritarianism.
And the tech enables new kinds of attacks. Cyber attacks like WannaCry in 2017, using a stolen NSA exploit, costing billions.
Yeah, nearly toppled the digital world. And stopped by a 22-year-old buying a $10 domain name. Shows the staggering ease of digital weapon proliferation, how much power individuals can have.
And lethal autonomous weapons, Law Ws, they're not sci-fi anymore. That reported assassination of Iran's nuclear scientist in 2020 with a robot.
Exactly. These things further reduce barriers to violence.
Yeah.
Robots like Boston Dynamics Atlas becoming more common.
So the power balance is shifting, away from just states.
Dramatically.
Yeah.
Offensive capabilities are proliferating down to labs, startups, even garage tinkerers.
Yeah.
It's a proliferation of power that's too wide, fast, and open for states to easily control. A democratization of potentially destructive power.
Then there's the misinformation machine, deepfakes. AI-generated synthetic media becoming indistinguishable from real stuff.
Pretty much. The deepfake campaign speech in India, the Dr. Pelosi clip. Examples are multiplying. We're heading for a world of deepfakes.
And this automates disinformation. Russian agents reaching 126 million Americans in 2016, bots driving reopening tweets during COVID. Could this lead to an infocalypse, where we just can't sort truth from fiction anymore, eroding trust, democracy?
It's a serious risk. If you can't trust what you see or hear, how does society function? And another huge risk, catastrophic accidents, the lab leak problem.
Right. Even the most secure labs, BSL-4, have accidents. You listed several. Russian flu, 77, Soviet anthrax, 79, UK foot and mouth, 2007, and only a quarter of BSL-4 labs score highly on safety. That's worrying.
It is. And then you have gain-of-function research, intentionally making pathogens more dangerous, usually to study them. It makes the idea of COVID-19 originating from a lab leak eminently plausible, an event that's already killed millions. These kinds of uncontainable failures could lead to engineered pandemics on a global scale. The tension between discovery and risk is incredibly sharp here.
And finally, technological unemployment. AI replacing intellectual manual labor, not just physical.
That's the fear. Unlike past tech that often complemented humans, AI might directly substitute for cognitive tasks. Early ChatGPT analysis showed it boosting productivity for mid-level professionals by 40%. McKinsey thinks half of all job tasks could be automated in 7 years.
Which impacts wages, labor markets,
That
tax
is-
revenues, straining welfare systems.
Potentially huge economic and social disruption. A steelworker doesn't easily become a derivative trader, right? Lots friction.
So this all leads to the dilemma. We need tech to solve big problems, but the tech itself creates huge risks. Stagnation, doing nothing, is also a disaster, a different kind of dystopia.
Exactly. Modern civilization writes checks only continual technological development can cash. Without new tech, meeting climate goals, maintaining living standards with aging populations, improving health, it's completely fanciful. So standstill in itself spells disaster. It's a real bind.
Okay, so what can we actually do? Regulation alone isn't enough, you said. Too slow.
Generally, yeah. Things like the EU's AI Act are important, but they often lag years behind the tech. Think Ring doorbells, changing surveillance before rules caught up. And regulation doesn't always fix the underlying incentives or stop bad actors.
So we need a new grand bargain. Containment isn't stopping the wave, it's harnessing and controlling it, building sustainable societies while checking the risks.
That's the goal. Think of it as concentric circles of action. We can group them into, say, 3 key pillars.
Okay, pillar one.
Pillar 1 is about technical and corporate responsibility. Starts with technical safety, making safety an inherent design property. We see progress, like reducing bias in LLMs. It includes physical containment, BSL labs for bio, strong safety standards like nuclear have.
And going further, sandboxes, simulations for testing, off switches, fixing the hallucination problem in LLMs, explainability, corrigibility.
All of that. Baking safety in from the start, not adding it later. And transparency helps. Things like the AI incidents database, sharing over 1,200 reports so people learn from failures.
And under this pillar, the makers themselves have a responsibility. Critics should build solutions, not just criticize.
Absolutely. Technologists need to proactively build containment into their work, move beyond just pointing out problems to actively solving them.
And businesses, finding ways to mix profit with purpose, like DeepMind tried with its independent ethics board idea.
Yeah, that attempt, aiming to be a global interest company, reinvesting profits. It failed because it was too much for Google, shows attention. But you see the rise of public benefit corporations, B Corp, trying to embed purpose. The question is making that the norm.
Okay, pillar two, government and global policy. This includes choke points, controlling critical hubs.
Right. Buying time by managing key points, like the U.S. semiconductor export controls to China, a really strong recent example. Other choke points. Cloud computing, just 6 companies dominate. The top AGI labs, rare earth elements, specialized skills. Concentrating control where possible.
And government needs to do more than just regulate, build tech, set standards, develop expertise.
Way more involved. Maybe a dedicated cabinet-level minister for emerging tech. A licensed environment for powerful AI or symbio tools like the FAA for rockets. And rethinking corporate tax, maybe a public dividend from tech value.
And this needs alliances, international cooperation, learning from past successes like the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty or the Montreal Protocol.
Vital. We see efforts now like scientists proposing a germline editing moratorium. We need things like U.S.-China collaboration on biorisk monitoring, like secure DNA or maintaining crypto systems against quantum threats. Shared threats require shared action.
Okay, final pillar. Cultural and societal shift, changing the tech culture itself towards a precautionary principle.
Exactly. Adopting a kind of Hippocratic oath for technologists. First, do no harm. Inspired by people like Joseph Rotblat, who walked away from the Manhattan Project.
So being willing to pause before building, pause before publishing, review everything, delay benefits until it's safe.
That's the idea, a deep shift. And for that to happen, you need movements, people power. Right now, there isn't a unified we. Actors are scattered, incentives differ, but building a critical public mass demanding change is crucial. Citizen assemblies, civil society groups, getting the public involved.
And finally, all these things need coherence. They have to work together, not just one solution.
Right. Containment is an emergent phenomenon. It comes from all these measures reinforcing each other, like Kevin Esvelt's delay, detect, defend strategy for biosecurity, treaties and insurance to delay, DNA screening to detect, resilient systems and stockpiles to defend, layers of protection.
So safety isn't a destination. It's something we have to keep doing, like states constantly working to maintain stability.
Right. Exactly. Navigating that narrow corridor between bad outcomes, an ongoing effort, always adapting.
So as we wrap up, let's circle back to the Luddites. Early 19th century weavers, smashing power looms because they saw their jobs, their lives destroyed. They fought back, convinced they were right. They lost, obviously. And their descendants ended up living with comforts and tech they couldn't have dreamed of. As we try to contain this coming wave, are we fully grasping its, well, maybe inevitable nature? Or are we, a bit like the Luddites, fighting a battle that can only be managed differently, not just stopped? And maybe, what unexpected benefits might come from this radical tech that we just can't see yet, even as we work so hard to make it safe? Something to think about.